Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join me for our dearly departed Round 9 review. As ever, we are keeping in touch with those teams who we covered in the Championship and who are now in the Premier League. Leeds, Villa, Norwich, Watford and Brentford. Bit of a mixed weekend again. The dearly departed not really in full flight just yet. Horrible one for Norwich. We'll talk about them at the end. They got a bit of a battering down at Chelsea. That's an understatement. I'm trying to be kind. It could have been worse for Leeds, who were behind and equalised late at Wolves. It was really good for Watford, so we look forward to talking about that one. Unfortunately, either side of the Saturday games, we had defeat for Villa on Friday, and this afternoon, defeat for Brentford. As well, we'll get into all of the action imminently. Speaking of Brentford, let's just say a big thank you to Simon, who is our fan sponsor for the Dearly Departed show. Simon Hoyle, 25 years of Bees fans. Finally, the bus stop in Hounslow are in the Premier League. Thanks, Dad, for taking me in '96 when football was not such a priority as it is now. Thank you very, very much, Simon, for sponsoring us. You too can get involved over on Patreon. And even if you don't want to do that, please hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Let's get into the games. And first up is this afternoon's game down at the Brentford Community Stadium. And another home defeat for Brentford, whose away record is now pushing things forward in a more viable way than their home record. They lost 2-1 to Leicester. This on the back of that defeat against Chelsea. Okay, defeat against Chelsea is a defeat against Chelsea, isn't it? Where Brentford put up good numbers, but ultimately got nothing. A bit of a sense they put up some good numbers, not to the extent they did against Chelsea, where the keeper was extraordinary, wasn't he? Mendy in goal for Chelsea. But they've gone under again today. I'm not saying rude awakening. I'm not saying the great start by Brentford is now going to fall off a cliff. But a little bit of a slowdown with these back-to-back defeats for the Bees, who have been flying the flag as our highest dearly departed team in the table. There are your teams there. Raya in goal for the Bees. Zanka, Janssen, Pinnock, Henry and Canos are the wing-backs. Jensen, Norgard, Onyeka in central midfield with Mbeumo and Tony up front. So what we can say very, very safely about Brentford, very, very solid strategy, very solid tactics, seems to be the same every single week now. Front two, stable. That much good, even if the results, particularly at home, a third defeat now, have dropped just a little bit from the very high standards that have been set thus far. For Leicester, Schmeichel in goal, Amate, Evans, Soyuncu, Pereira, Castagna, Samare, Tielemans, Maddison, Vardy and Iheanacho. And it's a fairly early lead for Leicester. And this one, I think Tony had one in the net and disallowed before this one. But, I mean, it's a hell of a strike. It's quite a thrilling goal, actually, because you see Tielemans arriving, getting ready to smash that ball towards goal. What you don't see in the still is it's like a cricket fast bowler who runs into it from about 5 or 10 yards, and yeah, he absolutely leathers it. I mean, look at Raya. He's well set, ready to go. Maybe a step further back and he might have been able to get closer to this one, but I think we might be trying to find fault in what was a brilliant strike by Tielemans. And I'm looking over at the old attack momentum graph on SofaScore here, and it really does look like, look at those first half stats for Brentford. 9 shots to 2, and that was Leicester's only shot on target in the first half. 1 big chance to 0 on the basis of the first half to Brentford. So a little bit of a sense that they've gone in at half time. Maybe a little touch against the run of play, but of course it is a bit of quality from Tielemans into the second half. And the Bees do indeed get an equaliser on the hour mark. Jensen pops the corner over. and it's Zanka, the centre-half, on the near post. You just assume it's going to be Pinnock when you see these Brentford set plays, don't you? But he flicks that one on and in to the far corner. Schmeichel cannot save it. Now, they've got themselves back in at 1-1 after probably having a good first half as well. And disappointing because the next goal of this game, and the decisive goal, is indeed going to Leicester. A bit of a counter-attack. It is Daka gets slipped through in behind. They breach that Brentford, what sometimes can be a high line as they're trying to play their football using their three centre-halves. Daka squares it on. Mattheson has sprinted up with him, knowing he has a tap-in if he can just get alongside and stay onside. And that is exactly what happens. And James Mattheson, I remember scoring for Norwich actually at Griffin Park against Brentford, comes back to horn the bees one more time. Slightly different story in the second half where Leicester, 5 shots on target to 2, 1 big chance to 0. So perhaps in a reasonably tight game here, and we'll look at the full numbers, did Brentford lose it in the first half there, giving Leicester that advantage? You tell me down there in the comments. There are the numbers for the whole game, and looking at the whole picture, you would, if you were a Brentford fan and if you were hosting a show called Dearly Departed covering Brentford, you would argue the point. This is a tight game that Brentford could really have got something from, maybe a point, but you get punished in the Premier League with the likes of Tielemans and just getting that offside trap broken in the second half. You can see on the XG, Brentford 1.38 to 1.01 in their favour, 54 on the possession in their favour, 15 shots to 10 in their favour. However, 6 shots on target to 5 in Leicester's favour, 1 big chance apiece. There are some key numbers, and it's often the ones pertaining to the penalty box that make the difference in these games. And this is what Brentford are going to find now. Maybe as the momentum drips away, maybe the goodwill and the darling status that Brentford had being a new team in the Premier League kind of gets forgotten as we move on now into the winter. And there will be a lot of teams that will come. I know Leicester are an ex-Premier League champion, aren't they? But I think the more pertinent thing is they've been in there years now. And when you look at these squads that come, you really have to be at it. And you almost can't have a half like that one in the first half of this one, where we look at the numbers and we think, ooh, could have taken advantage there, and they did not. Let me know your thoughts. We'll look at the table at the end of the show. Brentford dropping down now into the bottom half for what feels like, it must be in fact, because they played the first Friday night and won, didn't they, this season, for the first time this season. Let me know your thoughts on where we're headed now for Brentford, home form versus away form, and a few examples now of being in games, putting good numbers up, but not getting anything from them. Is your glass half full? Will that turn back around and turn into points? Or is it half empty when you're not actually drawing any points from those games? Let me know what you think in the comments. It was Brentford 1, Leicester 2. On we go, and back we go to Friday night, and a slightly concerning third straight defeat for Aston Villa. And this against the backdrop of sort of conclusions that they switched systems and they were starting to bed in the new players, started to get some results. And now we get this drop off, and the latest defeat here down at Arsenal. It was Arsenal 3, Villa 1. Across those 3 games as well, 8 goals conceded, and it was a pretty reliable sort of back four and goalkeeper last season that weren't leaking goals. And now, in the main, the same players in a slightly different system with Tuanzebe, you can see added in there, are leaking goals of late. There is your Villa team. Martinez in goal, Konza, Tuanzebe, Mings, Target, Cash, Louise, McGinn, Buendia, Ings and Watkins. We've said a few times, it kind of makes sense, that shape and that system. Little extra bit of solidity. It helps you fit Buendia in that 10 position. I know a lot of people still argue better coming in off the right. You can keep the double pivot, and now Ings has been added. You can add him next to Watkins. It all makes sense on paper, doesn't it, when you explain it like that? But I will again go back to the 3 defeats in a row. So be interested what Dean Smith does going forward, whether he's all in on this system and he's just going to ride out this sort of small spurt of losses, hoping that it's going to come back around. Be interested in Villa fans' thoughts on that. There is your Arsenal team. Ramsdale in goal. Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel and Tavares. Lokonga, Partey, Saka, Lacazette, Smith Rowe and Aubameyang up top. And I was out working on Friday, so I was kind of following this, reading my Twitter feed. And my Villa friends on my feed were pretty damning of this performance, that it was a very, very poor one and they were quite well beaten by the Arsenal. Here's the opening goal, corner in from Smith Rowe, and it looks very similar to Zanka's goal for Brentford, doesn't it? It's Partey on the near post. He gets the flick header and gives Arsenal the lead on 23 minutes. And very frustratingly for Villa, because they probably weren't playing well in the first half, a late injury time, stoppage time, first half, second goal, which just makes things very, very different. We're talking, in the cliche terms, mountains to climb then, aren't we? And you can see Matt Target there. And by the way, this camera angle here, that's Lacazette moving away from goal. Referee doesn't see it initially, but Target has dived in, and it's referee Pawson going over to the screen there, and I think even Villa fans would admit, rightly penalising a rash challenge by Target, diving in there right at the end of the half with the player facing away from goal as well. It's a penalty, and I've gone the wrong way. Let's go the right way. And go the right way is exactly what Emi Martinez did. I'm not really doing justice there with a still, because he makes a big dive to his right to make the save. Just stop it going in the net. Unfortunately, he couldn't control the parry of where it was going to go, and he looked very disconsolate, head in hands, after Aubameyang returned, ran into the 6-yard box and stuck the rebound in the back of the net. First half, not a good one at all. Let me give you some first half numbers in isolation. 0 shots for Villa in the whole half, 14 for Arsenal and 4 big chances. That is in the first half alone. Really, really poor stuff from Villa, from everything I was hearing on Friday night out of work and digging into it a little bit since. Into the second half, and goal number 3 comes. You want to kind of hang in the game, but goal number 3 comes on just minute number 56. Smith Rowe, again, they work him in. And I'm really not entirely sure how this has happened, because you can see Mings looks like he's well positioned to stop the Smith Rowe curler on the run into the far corner. Martinez looks like he's leaning that way. I can only think Smith Rowe's going to try and put it through Mings' legs there. But he doesn't make the block. Not only does he not make the block, Mings, he deflects it into the opposite corner. And it looks like, honestly, from that still, the only way Smith Rowe's going to score is via some kind of deflection there. So disappointing one defensively there for Villa. And indeed for Mings. Couple of subs, and one of the subs is going to get on the score sheet. I also had a lot of Norwich fans in my Twitter feed saying, what's happened to Buendia? He looks a different player, and I don't think he had a good game. He was pulled off. Jacob Ramsey comes on. Leon Bailey does indeed make a return as well. Beg your pardon, he came on at half time. So that's some good news for Villa. And again, we talk about team shapes with Bailey available, whether they might go to a 3 up top and utilise him. This is a great finish, though, by Jacob Ramsey, and Bailey sort of knocks it off to him. There you can see, and lean back, find the top corner. Good stuff from Ramsey, drills it in. 3-1, some positives. Bailey's return, good goal by Ramsey, but you're not going to win many games with a first half like Villa had. For sure, there are all the final numbers. And you can see, based on what I've said, that they'd lost the game by half time, because the second half in isolation is Villa's, really. 4 shots on target apiece, 2 big chances to Villa to 0 for Arsenal. But, of course, game state is everything. It's very easy to bring up stats when the game state is a 2-0 reverse at the point, it's easy to keep the ball when you're losing 2-0, isn't it? For sure. Look at the XG down the bottom there. Look at all those red blobs. Yes, I understand 2 of them come from the penalty incident, which pads the number out, but it is still 3.23 in Arsenal's favour there. So whatever padding may not be entirely relevant. Let me know what you think then, because do you have the same feelings that Villa had perhaps turned a corner, got the new system, and with these defeats now, and with the leaky defence, I don't know, do they go back to a back 4 now and try and fit Bailey maybe into a front 3 with Ings and Watkins? I don't know, right and left of those 2 players, Watkins and Bailey, right and left of Ings. Where does that leave Buendia? What's going on there? I don't particularly know. So I've just looked at my phone. Manchester United, Liverpool 4. I think that might be a half-time score as well. So there is a massacre going on at Old Trafford. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about now. That just took my eye. What I want to know is your thoughts on Villa and what Dean Smith needs to do going into the next round of games. Arsenal 3, Villa 1. Okay, up next, a highly logical result for Watford after they were absolutely battered by Liverpool 5-0. I was at the game. Go and check out my vlog elsewhere on the channel. They go to Everton and they're going to win 5-2. Unbelievable stuff from Watford, and something we can perhaps get behind as something good to talk about with our dearly departed. The only win, and what a win at defensively sound Rafa Benitez Everton side, and a huge win for Watford, and former player, of course, Josh King, scoring a hat-trick. For Everton, it was Pickford in goal, Coleman, Keane, Godfrey, Digne, Gordon and Townsend wide. Davies starts with Alan, Gray and Rondon. You would expect Everton to be nice and solid and sit in there, and if they took the lead, to hold on to it. No, that is not going to happen in the slightest. So, there was a lot for Ranieri to sort out in this one. And there is your Watford team. I'll just quickly say, kind of gone with double left-backs to stop Salah in the last game. That didn't work. And one of those left-backs, Danny Rose, is out of this game. Danny Rose played for Ipswich, didn't he? I think I got my Ipswich hat on there. So Foster in goal, hopefully with no guests in the wrong stand this week. Ngakia, who had a bit of a sub-cameo. Do you know, I thought people were overplaying that, saying, Ngakia was the Watford man of the match last week. Came on at 4-0 and just ran around and put his foot in a bit. No, they were right, those people, and Ranieri's with them. And he starts here over Firmino. Ekong, Cathcart. Messina gets the left-back nod. Only one left-back this week. Sissoko, Tufan and Kuchka. Some good experience there in that central midfield area. Sarr and Hernandez wide. And the main man in this game, Josh King, up top. However, and we saw this on the Saturday Super Stream, it looked like it might be a long day for Watford after just 3 minutes. Damari Gray, who's having a very good season, gets down the left. And I'm not entirely sure how Tom Davies managed to get, if you look at the still there, manages to get on the end of that ball as it goes into the middle. But he does, and he forces it home. A poor start for Watford. Exploited Gray, we think, in that 10 position, just getting down the sides there, and Davies arriving from central midfield. Plenty back in the box for Watford. No one could stop them. But it was back in your box for Everton here, because Josh King gets the equaliser. They had to go and check this one on the VAR. It's flicked on by Cathcart from the set play, and you can see nice, easy tap-in for Josh King there on the far post, about 2 yards from goal. It looks fairly incriminating, But when they ran it back, a well-timed bit of movement from King, maybe a bit of Everton ball watching, and it is 1-1 on 14 minutes. So the first half ends, and in terms of those numbers, Everton probably edging it, 3 shots to 1 on target, but it's reasonably tight, 50-50 possession. Now things are going to go absolutely mad as we go into the second half. And speaking of players scoring against their old teams, here comes good old Richarlison here with a real proper diving header. There, you love to see that. And look at number 5, Michael King there. Keane, excuse me. Why can't I pronounce anyone's name today? King on the brain because I'm about to describe another 2 goals by Josh King. Anyway, Richarlison with the diving header. You have to say again, Watford have got so much room for improvement in their defending. That cross has come in from deep. Look at the hodgepodge of a defensive line there. You've got Foster half coming and getting nowhere near it. And Richarlison knows as he throws himself at that, because of the defensive line, Foster's completely done. Just has to get a contact, and that's going into the gaping open goal. But, maybe accentuate the positive there. It's 7 goals conceded in 2 under Ranieri, and plenty of room for him to drill that defence in the Italian way that hopefully he may like too. They're going to get another equaliser, though, Watford. And look, what's good for the geese is good for the gander. If I'm going to call out Watford for poor defending, what about this? It's just a set play, a corner coming in from that right-hand side from Hernandez. And Kuczka literally starts on the edge of the area, runs into the box completely unchallenged, and probably about 8 yards from goal in the middle of the penalty box just heads it into the net. You would think, my mates who play on Saturdays and Sundays tell me you don't get a free header from a corner, Ben. Well, ergo you shouldn't at Premier League level. Maybe they won't get too many of them. But yeah, in it goes for 2-2. And now things start to go absolutely crazy because that one goes in on 78 minutes. Then on 80 minutes, here comes Josh King. And to be fair, this is really good. Everton get caught chasing the game. It's a quick counter-attack. Dennis plays it across the box, and it's really good from King. The ball's bouncing, it's coming at him. He's got Pickford running at him from this direction. You can see defender there, is it? Coleman, I think it must be the right back, who's got caught narrow there, coming at him as well. King's got basically one touch and a finish, and he gets it under in the best way he can, and that's the shot he gives himself and just slides it past England's Jordan Pickford for 3-2. And it then just turns into one of those games where maybe you have a favourite and an underdog, and the favourite's playing at home, and all of a sudden the underdog has got themselves in front, and the favourite is going a little bit mad and coming forward, and here comes another one for Watford, picking them off. And it's really, really good composure here. Again, Dennis gets another assist. He had quite the game, didn't he? In fact, he was a substitute on 64 minutes, Dennis, so he had a hell of a cameo with a goal and 2 assists. King will get the headlines, rightly so, because this is the hat-trick. Just turns his man outside, inside, USA, sticks it in left-footed, 4-2, game over. Not exactly, because here comes another one, and Dennis completes, like I say, that double assist and goal cameo, despite only coming on for Ismail Assar as well, the main man there, on minute 64. And it is 5-2 to Watford. And far be it for me to bring up Claudio Ranieri's Leicester team, but they were renowned counter-attackers. And watching the last few goals, look, maybe you get Everton just going a bit crazy chasing the game at the end. But it is Rafa Benitez, so you would think it would be organised chasing of the game. And a superb win for Watford here. All was lost last week when they lost 5-0, but they've come back in the best way. And look, 6 big chances they created in this game, 50-50 on the possession. And it is viable. Look, 5 corners to 3, 20 shots to 15, 8 to 4 on target. It's a great win for Watford. Did we see it coming? No. And the Watford fans I spoke to, you can check on Upside Sports YouTube channel, outside the Graham Taylor statue were a little bit, oh, well, look, there's some hard games coming up. Can we get a point at Everton? Maybe get a clean sheet or something. They're at Southampton at home. Can we get a draw in that one? Well, away goes Ranieri, and he's got the win. And a huge win and a big confidence-building win. Feast nor famine again. 5-0 defeat and then a 5-2 win. A hat-trick for Keane. A brilliant sub-cameo. A brilliant sub-cameo for Dennis. And a great win for Watford. Watford fans, God knows what you're going to be thinking after Ranieri's disastrous first game and brilliant second game. Whatever you are thinking, let me know in the comments on Everton 2, Watford 5. Up we go to Elland Road. And I was a bit worried about Leeds at various points actually through the Super Stream because they were behind for a fair while. And there were times in this where Burnley, who were that team third from bottom, who kind of dictate whether anyone's getting sucked down into that relegation zone, they did lead in their game as well. But ultimately, Leeds, who have had problems with Wolves, get a draw in the end. It was Leeds 1, Wolves 1, but it was a very, very late penalty, a 94th minute penalty indeed from Rodrigo that got Leeds the equaliser. And this stuttery, false starty season, we're still waiting for it to get going with Leeds under that 1 point per game sort of survival number. And we're at game 9 now, so we really need this to start picking up soon for Leeds. Big game against Norwich next week, a dearly departed derby. Here is your Leeds team. In mitigation to Bielsa, some big names not there, I have to say. Meslier in goal, Shackleton, Dallas fullbacks, Cooper and Llorente there. So look, there's no Firpo left back. There is no Ailing right back, who you would think would be the first choice fullbacks there. Click and Strowick in central midfield. Again, no Calvin Phillips. And I think, to quote Mariah Carey, all Leeds fans want for Christmas is some more central midfield competition. Well, and a fit Calvin Phillips, of course. Rafinha returns and does go off injured, but then went to social media to say he was okay down the right. Harrison down the left. Dan James playing off Rodrigo. Still no Pat Bamford, who was such a key guy last season for Leeds, firing his way into the England squad. So, still some mitigating factors, but Leeds fans always tell me this, Bielsa has that small squad, and there is this risk when injuries come that, I know he trains all the players to be able to do all the positions, essentially, doesn't he? But yeah, you do just want your best players fit and playing, don't you? For Wolves, it was Sarr in goal, Kilman, Cody, Saiz, Nori, Semedo, Dendonka, Moutinho, Hwang, Traore, and Jimenez. And annoyingly, for those who wanted a flowing game, Wolves take the lead fairly early into this one. That's the way it's been going for Leeds at the moment. Hwang scores on 10 minutes. And I don't know, is it a bit of a lucky bounce? Do the Leeds players get sucked in towards the goal? Whatever you reckon, it breaks to Hwang, who's, as you can see there, godlike, just on the edge of the 6-yard box. It's an easy finish for a Premier League footballer. And again, we seem to be lamenting first halves here. One shot on target for Wolves in the first half, which they scored. 7 total shots for Leeds during that first half, but no big chances. And I remember doing one of these as a watch-along, Leeds versus Wolves, and we thought maybe more frustration. Bielsa rings the changes in the second half. Robertson for Harrison. Joe Gelhardt, the youngster from Wigan, comes in on 62 as well. And it is indeed Gelhardt that makes the difference. He powers his way into the penalty box. And that is Nelson Semedo, Silly Billy. He's got his arm up and I guess he's banged to rights there. A bit too handsy on Gelhardt, who it's a lovely drive into the box. I know this is a Premier League show, but Joe Rothwell does this brilliantly for Blackburn just gets going, and once he's inside that line of the penalty box, obviously Gerhardt does it from further forward positions, you can't touch him. And Semedo does touch him, and down goes Gerhardt for the penalty in the 94th minute. Nice and cool and calm from Rodrigo, and it's a big responsibility, one of those kicks in stoppage time to save a point, isn't it? And Rodrigo does indeed do just that, sends the keeper Sarr the wrong way and gets Leeds what is an important point, because a home defeat there in that manner, sitting in behind from 10 minutes and losing, wouldn't have done. Let's have a look at the numbers for the whole game. And yeah, big picture, Leeds would have been unlucky to lose, wouldn't they? Look, 1.8 on the XG to 1.03, 63% on the possession. Yes, as usual, I know game state allows a team like Wolves to sit in after taking the lead on 10 minutes, but it is what it is over the course of a game. 18 shots, 4 apiece on target, 6 corners to 3 Leeds, 2 big chances to 1. And in the end, Leeds getting their rewards. We'll look at the table properly at the end of the show, but Leeds fans, when we look at it, especially once we describe what poor old Norwich went through this week, this next game, Leeds versus Norwich, kind of is going to be in must-win territory, I think, for Leeds, isn't it? They'll be thinking, look, get going, get up that table, get winning. You're against the team at the bottom of the table who has yet to win a game. And again, I will reiterate, Bamford, Phillips, Firpo as well, all probably to come back and into the first team. They need to get everybody fit to get going, I think, Leeds, don't they? Let me know what you think. We won't talk about tactics or strategies because Bielsa ain't changing that. I think it's all to do with momentum and personnel. But I bow to your superior knowledge, Leeds fans. You let me know in the chat what you think. A little bit of an escape, but I think an important penalty scored by Rodrigo. Leeds 1, Wolves 1. Oh, God. Here we go then. Chelsea 7, as they used to write out on the video printer. Norwich 0. Just a terrible, terrible result for Norwich. And I know people who are at the game, I kind of had my eyes on it before the Super Stream on BT as well. Just a terrible performance as well. And look, we can go into the minutiae of the game, and we will, but not in great detail. But the fallout from this, particularly from my Norwich supporting friends on my Twitter feed, a little bit of a last straw for a few of them with the current manager. And I don't know, we've gone back and forth on Daniel Farke, who's did incredible stuff to get Norwich up. Had a relegation with the mitigating factor of COVID and the fact that they never expected to get promoted in the first place, and maybe the planning wasn't quite there. Did very well again to get them up. Sold his best player in the summer. He's now retooling, and they just look miles off Norwich. And like Villa with their change of system, we've said it kind of makes some sense. They needed to add more physicality. They needed to maybe add an extra defender and get Pukki a partner up front. Now his mate Buendia's gone off to Villa. But I can talk forever and a day about something making sense that might work in 4 games, 5 games, 10 games, or never. That's not much consolation to our Norwich friends after they've lost 7-0 to the European champions Chelsea. And yes, Daniel Farke was very keen to point out it's the most difficult game in world football against the European champions. Of course, he should say that. He's defending his position, and more power to him, because a lot of suspicion now in the Norwich fan base. Look, maybe it was a bit raw yesterday, and we'll get some comments from Norwich fans, no doubt, here as to what they think about Mr. Farke. And a 9th Premier League game this season without a win. It goes back a lot further in terms of the Premier League run when you go back last time. So Norwich, Krill in goal. He's sticking with the system of Kabak, Hanley, Gibson as a back 3, Giannoulis and Aarons as wing backs, Lees-Melu, Norman and McLean with Sargent and Pukki. I won't repeat myself, but I get it. I get why he's doing that. And Farke, since I've been studying his work on the channel here, has always given a team 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, 7 games to hang themselves before they make a change. And, well, they did hang themselves here. But to turn that into a positive, he's always been consistent with team lineups, even when big players and highly paid and repudiated, if that's the right word, players aren't in the team. He's stuck with the team and tried to get the continuity going. For Chelsea, Mendy in goal, Rudiger, Silva, Chalobah, James, Chilwell, Kovacic, Jorginho, Mount, Hudson-Odoi and Havertz. I heard a few Norwich fans saying, what if Lukaku had been playing? Would it have been 8-0 or 9-0? Who the hell knows? Right, let's get this out of the way for the poor Norwich fans. 8 minutes, Mason Mount from Jorginho's assist. Just gets it out of his feet on the edge of the box, drills that one in to Tim Krul's right-hand side. Here comes goal number 2. And I'm going to give Krull a fair amount of praise in this game because obviously he faced a lot of shots and made some decent saves. I'm not entirely sure about his positioning there. Well, look at the next goal where I think he's well positioned and still gets beaten, to be fair. But he offers Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's been played in by Kovacic, a shot across him. And Hudson-Odoi on the run opens up his body and slips it in. 2-0, 18 minutes. And yeah, I think Krull's position is actually very good on this. When he comes out, he charges down Reece James. And sometimes you have to take your hat off. And from what I heard Glenn Hoddle say on BT, that's a very good finish by a very good player. Reece James just dinks it over Krull for 3-0. At half-time, Farke does ring the changes. Giannoulis out, the wing-back, Williams in. Lismelu out and Rasica in. I'm not entirely sure what strategy he played in the second half. Maybe more 3-4-3 with Sargent and Rasica flanking Teemu Pukki. Doesn't matter really, not for the sake of this game, but is that something he may want to try against Leeds next time out? Here comes Ben Chilwell for number 4, another assist for Kovacic. And yeah, some days when you're down at the bottom and the wing backs are coming forward and the shots are flying in the corner like this one, it's a good finish by England's Chilwell for 4-0. Here's a bit of a weird one because you can see Max Aarons. Who is that sticking it across? I think it's Hudson-Odoi again. Aarons has got his arm actually forward like that and the ball deflects in off his arm past Krull. I dare say if they'd gone to VAR, it's probably a penalty, isn't it? It's probably arm in unnatural position. What's it doing there? Doesn't matter. Own goal, Aarons. 5-0 on 62 minutes. And then how's your head, Mr. Farke? Not very good here. So silly from Gibson, isn't it? You can see he's trying to just go in and make a strong challenge and win the ball high up the pitch. But I think it's Reece James in it. Sorry, blurry picture. Gibson's on a yellow card. It's a silly tackle to make that area of the pitch on a yellow card. And out comes the red, and Norwich, they're 5 down and they've got to play the last 25 minutes with 10 men in this one. And there's more misery for Norwich. If I can get the slideshow to work. There we go. Yes, we can. A handball there. It's Matthias Norman, who, again, I don't want to get into refereeing stuff, probably gets a little bit lucky. I guess they've deemed that ball is not going into the back of the net, because if it was, I think denial of obvious goal scoring opportunity, Norwich could have ended with 9 men. He only gets a yellow for a handball. And here comes Mason Mount. And Tim Krul has a bit of a reputation as a penalty guy. And his reputation is based on really getting into the attacker's head. He's very, very energetic on the line and a little bit talkative, a little bit sledgy in cricketing terms. But we've got cameras on him now, and he's got both feet off the goal line there. He actually saves the first attempt, and then Mount sticks it down the middle. Are you keeping score here? 6-0 now, and one more. Little breakaway down the right-hand side. Loftus-Cheek, deep in stoppage time, sends it across, and there is Mason Mount to claim a hat-trick. So look, you probably don't need me to walk you through the numbers. I suppose, with our dearly departed hat on, the most incriminating one is 1 shot on target and 0.21 for Norwich in an attacking sense. Yes, I can see the big 7 in goals against. I do understand that. But here's the problem, that Norwich have tried to make themselves more durable and they're just not creating any goal-scoring chances or indeed scoring any goals as things are going. Since they went to the sort of 3 at the back strategy, I remember Farke had been solid 4-2-3-1 guy. This was obviously in the Buendia days. The idea was that they were a bit too, too open, and they could do that at championship level, especially with Buendia. But I'm just looking back these last games here. 1-0 defeat at Arsenal. They did score against Watford but lost 3-1 at home. And then 2-0 defeat at Everton, no goals. 2 0-0 draws against Burnley and Brighton. However, another shutout here. So no goals in the last 4 games. Although they have picked up 2 points in those times. And obviously, look, 7-0 is 7-0. So, look, get involved in the comments. We know it's more nuanced than looking at one result or looking at the league table. However, that one result is very incriminating. It is 7. But look, it is against Chelsea. Me apologising for Farke. The league table is also very incriminating. Norwich at bottom. They haven't won a game. And I do think, and I've heard this argued a few times, perhaps it's been a little bit massaged by Newcastle and Burnley also not having won a game. And it's Leeds next for Norwich. Norwich are 5 points adrift of Leeds, who are just outside the relegation zone. And obviously a win for Leeds in that one. And yes, you start to look at it and you think, okay, 10 games gone, haven't won a game, quite well adrift, not scoring any goals. Where is this going under Daniel Farke? My view, for what it's worth, and do you know, I'll probably stick to this view until he's fired, frankly, is that Farke's Norwich played brilliant football in the Championship. I actually happen to think they raised the bar, he, Bielsa and Wilder, that 18-19 season, for a more Premier League style passing football in the Championship. They were outstanding. Obviously, that was then, and that was a different division. So even if he does get fired, Farke, I'll always think he's a good manager and a good coach for producing the football that I saw at Championship level. Yes, with Buendia. Yes, I get all of that. If the question is, can he do it for Norwich in the Premier League and this is his second go and they're bottom, and the answer's no, then maybe he will be fired. I don't know. He was one of these managers who I thought, because of the extraordinary promotion in 18-19 and the leap from 14th place to first, he was one of these I thought, can never see that happening. But, you know, if it is going to be bottom and relegated and then having another go and being bottom and relegated, then I get it. But that will be my view on Farke, and I invite Norwich fans' views on the situation, and you know, whether they think somebody else could now get more out of the club and out of the players at Norwich under Stuart Webber, the sporting director. Let me know what you think. There's not much good to draw from a 7-0 defeat, is there? So maybe talk about the future in the managerial situation. Chelsea 7, Norwich 0. Okay, let's round this up. Let's have a look at the league table. And I do believe I took that screenshot where Manchester United were 2-0 down at home to Liverpool. I believe they're now 5-0 down. So perhaps that goal difference might be moving Manchester United down the table. Anyway, we're not too worried about that. The first team we are worried about is Brentford, who are in 12th position. Now 2 defeats in a row. Let's not see that go to 3 and then 4, Brentford, please, after such an encouraging start. Aston Villa in 13th place. 3 defeats in a row. Again, like I said earlier in the show, is Dean Smith about to have another tweak? Now Leon Bailey's back to find the formation that's going to carry here in Villa forward. Watford are our good news story of the weekend. 10 points from 9. And after losing 5-0 and after speaking to Watford fans after that 5-0 defeat against Liverpool last weekend, they would have taken this all day long. Another 3 points on the board. Some hard games coming up. And if they're anywhere near points parity, i.e. 1 point per game after that run, I think they'll all be pretty happy. This is a good start. Well done, Watford, with that big win. Leeds aren't losing many. You can see only 2 defeats in that last 5 games. They're also not winning many. And they're on the verges of the relegation zone, looking ahead, and we'll talk about it in a sec, at maybe a must-win, 6-pointer, big clash, whatever you want to call it, against Norwich next week, because Norwich are rock bottom, with some of the fans now looking maybe for something new, basically, at Carrow Road. There are the fixtures next week. Burnley versus Brentford. That is a big game, that one, isn't it? With Burnley down in the bottom 3 and Brentford now in the bottom half. If Brentford are going to have this good season, which we hope they are, maybe they can go there and get the win. It is Watford versus Southampton. I know 4 points from Southampton and Everton would be great if they took the draw, but Watford have got some horrible fixtures. Can they go back-to-back wins to set themselves up for maybe some 0-pointers that may be to come? I wonder. They'll be more confident. Norwich versus Leeds is just massive for both clubs, isn't it? For Daniel Farker, if he's still there, if he gets the win, can that be the kickstart to something? And for Leeds, also, can that be the kickstarter? Because they're probably going to be thinking Norwich are a lame duck after no wins in 9 and a 7-0 defeat against Chelsea. Aston Villa versus West Ham. When you're looking for a win off 3 straight defeats, West Ham isn't the one, is it? They've been horrible opponents for our dearly departed team since we've been doing this show under David Moyes. So let's hope Villa can pull out some of their good form from last season, or from maybe 5-6 games ago when they switched to the 3 at the back for the first time, and do something there. We may see a change. That has been our round 9 review. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and a big thank you to Simon, who is our fan sponsor, 25 years of Bees fan. Finally, the bus stop in Hounslow are in the Premier League. Thanks to that for taking me in 96 when football was not such a priority as it was now. Thank you, Simon, for sponsoring us. Hopefully, for Simon's sake and the Bees fans, that 2-game losing streak does not continue. We will see you next week. That has been dearly departed for another week. Well done, Watford, for flying the flag. Can we get 2 winners next week? We've got a dearly departed derby, so we might well get 1, unless that game's drawn. And then we'll see what else next weekend throws up. Get involved in the comments as ever. Please hit subscribe, ring the bell. If you want to go and support further, you can do on Patreon. All of that is dealt with in the advert, which is going to play right now after I've said over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button, and to be notified every time we upload, ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another